Guys, something unusual has happened. I was given a preview copy for the new book that's coming out for D&D, Forgotten Realms, Heroes of Faerûn. I was told I can't show what's in the book, but I can talk about it. And I just can't help but think, I don't think WotC would want me to have this preview copy. Like, I rag on them all the time. But here we are. I got a free copy, so... I'll talk about the book. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. If something's good, I'll say it's good. If something's bad, I'm gonna say it's bad. You don't need to fear that I will lose my integrity as a guy with a D&D YouTube channel. Now, as people, we find a lot of things scary. Snakes, sharks, being behind someone while you're both walking up the stairs and they fart so it wafts right into your face. All common fears. But what do gods fear? When a god sleeps, what do their nightmares consist of? And what happens when those terrors that trouble them so leak out of the metaphysical and into the material? Well, you might find those answers in the Enshrined Kickstarter. Enshrined is a mythical horror 5e supplement. It takes place where the gods have destroyed space and time, and all that remains is an island outside of reality that is acting as the prison cell for these broken and shackled gods. The setting is this crazy eldritch fever dream because that's what it is. Like, canonically. Aside from a whole eldritch horror setting, 7 original boss encounters, and over 40 new monsters, it's got 8 player races, 10 new subclasses, and a whole new class called the Fate Runner. One of these subclasses is the Way of the Maw Monk. It's a monk that targets specific body parts to debuff enemies and gain powers from consuming your foes. The Cannibal Monk goes pretty hard, and what's great is this monk subclass is available for free on their Kickstarter page, along with a playable race and a whole adventure that goes through the spectacular and horrifying place, all for free. And if you sign up using my link in the description, you get a free mini shown here. Look at that guy. If you want to scare your players with some cosmic madness, check out the Enshrined Kickstarter by using my link down below. Thank you to the folks making Enshrined for sponsoring this video. So here's the question. Should you buy the Forgotten Realms Heroes of Faerûn book? The answer is going to be no, but let's talk about the book anyway. The book starts with a bunch of lore about Faerûn. I don't care about lore, I'll make up my own and it's better. So let's get to the part where people are actually interested in this book, the character options. First up is College of the Moon Bard. If you think Moon Bard is a bit of a strange combination for a subclass theme, it's based kind of on like the world of Faerûn, so, you know, it fits there. That's cool. I like how they're integrating mechanics with the lore of the world. That's neat if you use it. Personally, I'm not gonna use the Faerûn lore, so that doesn't mean much to me, but whatever, I can spin this however I want. The subclass lets you turn invisible when you give someone a Bardic Inspiration and teleport, which is pretty cool. And you can improve your healing by spending Bardic Inspiration, that's pretty cool. One thing I think is a little weird, at level 6, they get an ability to cast a better Moonbeam. Characters could be casting Moonbeam at like level 3. The Moonbeam lets you like regen some health. In and of itself, that's not bad, but that's at level 6, so you're casting a lower level spell, and even at level 6, you'll be casting, you know, level 2 spells. Again, that's fine. However, this ability doesn't really have any scaling. I guess you could upcast Moonbeam, but I don't know. That one doesn't sit super well with me, I guess. You know, and at level 14, you can make your friends invisible and teleport, and you're even better at healing. You know, overall, Moonbard is pretty cool. Yeah. Pretty neat subclass. Next up is the Knowledge Domain Cleric. My opinion about Knowledge Domain Cleric is when I first read it in the 2014 version of D&D, I was like, okay, this is terrible. Why would anyone pick this? But then I realized, oh, you know what? Maybe this is for a specific game. Maybe this is for a more social game. Oh, you know what? This would be pretty good for a social game. I think it would be a lot of fun for that type of game. I thought it was pretty good for that. I think it could be better in some places, even in that social game. But you know what? I was like, that's who this is for, and I'm okay with that. And this new version kinda does that. Some things have stayed the same. You still get 2 skill proficiencies, which is pretty cool. The one thing they've changed is your Channel Divinity can now just cast a spell from your domain spell list, but when you cast it, it doesn't use a material component. That's kind of cool. Not like the most crazy thing, but you know what? They get so many skills that are really fun. You get an Artisan tool. They got rid of their level 6 ability. The old level 6 ability was they could read minds. They just gave them Detect Thoughts as one of their domain spells. So, you know, that makes it a little bit more streamlined. And now they get telepathy, and you can be on a telepathic Discord call with friends. Yeah, that's pretty helpful. I think it's a very good way to, justify metagaming, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you're not in the room with them. You don't know what they're saying. It's like, aha, I have telepathy, so they do know what we're saying. So I think that's cool. Level 17 is, this one, up until now, I thought this subclass was fun and good. The level 17 one is like, you missed the mark. So basically you can cast Foresight on yourself for an hour. That's very strong. Foresight lets you have advantage on all d20 tests for 8 hours. And this is just a 1 hour version of that. And you can re-give yourself that 1 hour version if you spend a 6th level spell slot. That's fine, right? But like the original version, the original ability that the Knowledge Cleric has was so cool. Basically, it allowed you to like see the memories of objects and who was the previous owner of that object, and you can like have Batman detective vision if you were in an area and see like past events that happened in this place. It was like the legend lore spell, but just like tuned way, way up. It was so flavorful and so cool. My only regret with the original one was it came at level 17. Ooh, I wish you came earlier, because it's such a fun ability. And, they got rid of it for this. And yeah, it is good. It's better. But, you missed out on something really cool with that. I really wish you didn't get rid of that. So, is this subclass better than the original? Yeah, but I wish it was different. If I ever buff Knowledge Cleric, I'm definitely moving that Visions of the Past ability way lower, because it's so cool. It's so cool. The next up is the Fighter subclass, the Banneret. It does seem like with that old Purple Dragon Knight UA and this Banneret that they're trying to separate the Purple Dragon Knight and the Banneret identity to be two different things. There's stuff in this book that kind of supports that as well. Purple Dragon Knight being the Dragon Rider Fighter subclass, and Banneret being... bad. It's bad, dude. It's so bad, guys. If you were waiting for Banneret to finally be good, this ain't it, dude. You should have just not printed this. It's so bad. The book would have been better if you just didn't print this subclass, because it's that bad. It reads like someone who didn't know the previous problems with the Banneret, or didn't listen to the community at all, or was just a new hire, and then just saw what the Banneret was and just converted it to the new D&D format. Is it better? It is better, but does not make it good, because it's good by virtue of this one actually has a level 18 ability and the original one didn't. That's kind of it. There's a few things that make it better, but again, it's still really bad. They get comprehend languages. Cool. For those that don't know, Banneret is supposed to be a support fighter, a fighter who can like heal people and like maneuver them around the battlefield to make like extra attacks and stuff. And all of those abilities are tied to your fighter resources, like your second wind, your action surge, and having features that are tied to those abilities aren't innately bad. But when you have limiters like, oh, it's tied to your second wind and you can also only use this ability once per a short rest. What's going on, man? What are we doing? If you're gonna make me spend a second wind to use this ability, then just let me do it. I'm already spending the resource. It's not that impactful that you need to limit it that much. And what's crazy is not only do you have a feature that is tied to your second wind, but you can only use it like once per a short rest, you have a feature tied to that once per a short rest ability. So your level 7 ability is only able to be used once per short rest with your level 3 ability. It's just like, it's really frustrating design. I really feel they just saw Banneret, decided, yeah, let's just adapt it to the 2024 version and change very little. That's how it feels. So I really can't recommend this subclass. It's bad. However, if you want a good version of this subclass, I made a version of the Banneret on my Patreon. It's available to my patrons. The patrons seem to like it. So, I got their endorsement. If you're interested in a Banneret that people seem to actually like, maybe go check out my Patreon. The next subclass is the Paladin subclass, Oath of the Noble Genies. Oh, this subclass. Ooh. Oh, man. I have a complicated relationship with this. I really like it. There are some things that really just like bother me, but some things I like love. You know what I mean? It's like you're so close to being perfect. Does that make sense? I might be biased mainly because the art for this subclass is so incredibly cool. I mean, come on, look at that. That's rad. I don't know, I'm a sucker for a flaming sword. I don't know what to tell you. So this one is a bit odd because you're swearing an oath to a genie, right? Okay, so genies in D&D are influenced by the elemental planes: water, earth, fire, air, right? And so you have genies with the corresponding elements, and they all act differently. Some don't like each other, like, oh, water and fire don't like each other. You get it. This paladin has powers from all of those genies, which feels odd. You know what I mean? Like, they don't like each other. But there might be a story in that where there's a coalition of genies working together, even though they're at odds with each other. Then the paladin is getting powers from all 4 of the genies. There's a story there, and I think that's interesting. But WotC, they didn't push that story. They just kind of said, yeah, you swear an oath to a genie, which is like, okay. They didn't give any explanation as to why swearing an oath to a water genie gives you fire powers. I think it's weird to swear an oath to an earth genie or a Dao and you start using air powers, right? You know what I mean? I feel like if you swear an oath to that Dao, you should be locked into the earth powers. I think that's just more thematic. That or the coalition of genies. I think that would be kind of cool. Again, they don't do that, and I think thematically this kind of fails. In the writing, though, I can flavor it how I want to make it work. But, you know, I'm not going to pass up a chance to dog on WotC for bad writing. This subclass gets 4 different ways to use Channel Divinity. And remember, in the 2024 version of Paladin, they can use Channel Divinity twice, and they regain a use during a short rest. So they can use a lot of different options. It's a lot. Again, would have preferred if you have to lock yourself into one genie type or coalition of genies, like one of those. But it is good. It is good, and I think this is fun and cool mechanically. Thematically, they got some spells, whatever. I think it's a little nuts to give a paladin chromatic orb. I like the paladins to be bad at range. I don't want them to be good at range. They're good up close, and that is their one weakness, getting close to people, right? I mean, that's why they have horse now in new 2024, right? Horse paladin. So I'm a little against giving paladins like chromatic orb and ranged abilities like that, but whatever. Also, they get conjure minor elementals and summon elemental. That is pretty cool. Look, there might be like a balance issue with that, but I just really like mephits, so I'm okay with it. This paladin gets unarmored defense, which I think is odd because the artwork for the genie paladin is wearing armor. Also, I don't understand why a genie has no armor and gets unarmored defense. I mean, like, it's fine. It's just odd, right? So they also get an ability where they can give resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, and thunder to anyone in their aura of protection, including themselves, and they can change that damage type resistance at the start of each of their turns. No action required, which is just like, what? I think that's a lot, you know, to just be able to switch on the fly to that many resistances. This is the resistance spell on call whenever you need it. I think that's kind of far. I kind of wish it was just like, oh, hey, you have to choose at the end of a long rest which one it's gonna be, right? Or again, you have to call up your coalition of genies and get approval to switch the changing of your damage type. Or you're locked into one damage type. I don't know. Their level 15 ability lets them reduce damage from attacks and lets them send damage back at people. And they can do it like a number of times per a long rest. It's pretty cool. The damage type is either cold, fire, lightning, thunder, or acid. The part that's starting to get to me about modern WotC design is you can't just do one damage type anymore. You know what I mean? I understand dragons have many iterations, and making a different subclass for each dragon type would be unreasonable. And the same with the genie. I think it's unreasonable to have 4 different genie subclasses in one book, right? But when you have subclasses like this that can deal 5 different damage types whenever they feel like the Dragon Monk, the Four Elements Monk, the Giant Barbarian, and now the Spirit Barbarian in that new UA, it's starting to feel less special. I think in a vacuum, if this could deal different damage types, I think that's fine. I think that's actually really cool. But when a bunch of subclasses you are printing start doing that, it's starting to be less special. It's starting to be less cool. Are people gonna be that upset if your extra 1d6 or whatever gets resisted by one enemy? Are people gonna be that mad where like, I can't buy another book from you? The dragon resisted my fire attack. It's like, I really don't see people getting that upset outside of like children. I mean, this game is for children, so you know what? Maybe that is the right decision. I don't know. I know I'm ragging on this subclass, but I do really like it. It's the thing that's getting to me is a bunch of subclasses are able to put out any type of damage they want with very little thematic reasoning, and it's getting less special every time you do it. I do like the subclass, just that's getting to me. But casters can pick like whatever damage type they want, so is it really that bad? I don't know, maybe we just need a long look at what damage types do and what their place is in the game, I don't know. Their level 20 ability straight up gives them legendary resistances that you can give to your friends. I'm not kidding, for real. That's a real ability they can get at level 20, which is like, I mean, you've seen my legendary resistance video. I don't need to explain why I don't like that. Overall, I like the subclass. I can make it into something I want where they're locked into one genie, but people who don't want that can do this as they wish, you know? I can play this how I want, and I can just ignore all those other damage types and all those other genie themings. That's totally fine. That might not be for some people, and the people who want everything, you have the Coalition of Genies thing, so I really think it's fine. All my whines and groans about this subclass are just thematic ones. The only mechanical problem I have is the level 20 ability, so yeah. Next up is the Ranger subclass, the Winter Walker. It's an Arctic-themed Ranger that is kinda spooky. I mean, it says it's spooky, but there's only like one ability that is kind of spooky, and we'll get to that. Oh, hey, look, they stuck to one damage type they can learn. I mean, it's different here because it's not like there's a Fire Tundra or a Thunder Tundra or an Acid Tundra yet. They get resistance to cold at level 3, which I think is odd. It's usually a level 6 ability. That might be an interesting change to see resistances coming at level 3. I'm not necessarily against that change. It's interesting they're doing that. They can give themselves temp HP when they cast Hunter's Mark. They can heal a bunch of their friends and make them less likely to be frightened. They have a reaction to stun people. The last ability lets them turn into a ghost, which that one took me off guard, because when I was reading this subclass, I was thinking, okay, all of these abilities are like frost abilities, like, oh, that stun ability, you freeze them in place. That makes sense to me. They have advantage to being frightened because the tundra's a really scary place. This all makes sense to me. Getting temp HP, oh, you cover yourself in ice or something, right? All this checks out. I didn't really question it until you could turn into a ghost at level 15. You know, the ability is, pretty bad. Like, you can go through walls, but you need to cast Hunter's Mark for it to work first. So, like, it's not that great in combat, which is crazy that they messed up turning into a ghost. You don't get, like, resistance. You get immunity to cold, which, I mean, I guess it'd be good, but, like, I don't know. I'd like resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing if I'm turning into a ghost, right? But again, the ghost just comes out of nowhere. I don't really quite understand it. Like, I understand they're going for a scary vibe, and that's fine. I'm on board with that. But why the ghost? I'm not trying to be obtuse. This is just me being confused. If you have some explanation, like, please let me know. I do want to know. I just feel like I'm missing something. Is this like an Icewind Dale thing? Do, like, rangers turn into ghosts when they are in the wild to fight things? Is that an Icewind Dale thing? Let me know in the comments what this is about, because I genuinely want to know. I just feel like I'm missing something. That's all. Overall, I think the subclass is, it's all right. It's fine. It's kind of, I think, a little boring, to be perfectly honest. It's just, nothing grabs me. Except the ghost thing, but I don't know what that's about. So next we have the rogue subclass, the Scion of the Three. This is a very Faerûn inspired subclass. This is a rogue that's empowered by the Dead Three in Faerûn lore, which are Bane, Baal, and Merkel. They're all like gods of evil, violence, death, and murder and stuff like that. Up until level 13, this subclass is actually really cool. They can teleport behind wounded creatures and attack them, which is super cool because they can do it as a reaction, right? So you can get that sneak attack not even on your turn, which is always great. I love that. And they can frighten creatures, which is super cool. But then, after that, it's all pretty bland. It's not that great. I think if you were going to play this subclass, you play it up until level 9, and then you multi-class into something else. It's kind of whatever. After that, I wish they kind of buff this. I want to buff this subclass because it is really cool. This mechanically is cool. It's very different. From levels 3 to 9, this subclass gets a big thumbs up for me. Everything after that, thumbs down. The next subclass is the Sorcerer subclass, Spellfire Sorcery. This subclass is boring. It is so incredibly boring. It basically boils down to, hey, your subclass features give you bigger number. Do you like bigger number? Here you go. That's it. It has one interesting ability, but the rest of it is just really boring and not worth talking about. The next subclass is the Wizard subclass, the Bladesinger. It's pretty much identical to the one you can find in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, so it's just kind of a lazy reprint, not really worth your time too much. There are two differences that I noticed. One, you can add your intelligence modifier onto the damage of your weapon attacks. At level 3, you don't have to wait until level 14 to do it, meaning they got a new level 14 ability, which is when you cast a spell that takes an action, you can make one weapon attack as a bonus action. On its face, yeah, that's fine. It's a decent enough ability. The one reason that kind of bothers me is that's a level 14 ability, right? It's a bonus action attack. What's the problem? The problem I have with it is if we look at the Eldritch Knight printed in the 2024 Player's Handbook, at level 18, 4 levels higher than our Bladesinger, they get improved war magic, which reads as follows. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace 2 of the attacks with a casting of 1 of your level 1 or 2 wizard spells that has a casting time of 1 action. I think it's kind of weird to have a level 14 wizard ability be comparable to a level 18 fighter ability. Both the Bladesinger's feature and the Eldritch Knight's feature have you sacrifice 2 attacks. However, the Bladesinger is casting much stronger spells, and the Eldritch Knight is limited to what level spell they can cast. They only can go up to 3rd level spells at this point, by the way. And this is a higher level feature, so why is it weaker than the level 14 ability? This is a level 18 feature. Why is this weaker than the level 14 ability? I understand the fighter gets another attack at level 20, but still, dude, quick buff to Eldritch Knight, the 2024 version. Have it replace one of your attacks and don't have any level limit. Go nuts with it. You are a level 18 fighter. Casting a fireball and then attacking twice, I think is totally fine at level 18. That is so okay with me. Overall, I don't know why they even printed this in the book. It's basically the same. I don't really think this should be a reason you buy the book. Like, change up the level 14 ability in the Tasha's version. Like, just do that. That's it for the subclasses. There are some origin feats in here. I think they're all really cool and fun. There aren't as many out-of-combat origin feats as I would have liked to see, but you know what? They're still pretty good. The general feats are, yeah, they're decent. They're pretty good. It feels like there's one here that was made specifically for that Winter Ranger to be better or good, depending on how you look at it. So, it makes you wonder kind of why wasn't this part of his kit to begin with, but whatever. There are a bunch of epic boons. I'm not going to talk about that because apparently no one plays D&D at that high of a level. I don't think that's true, but apparently no one cares about it, so why bother talking about it? There's a vehicles section in this book, which is crazy to me because the vehicles, plural, section of this book has one vehicle and it's just a covered wagon. It's a covered wagon, and it's not a magical covered wagon, just like a regular covered wagon. Okay, cool. I'm glad we had a whole vehicles section for just a covered wagon. There are some new spells in this book. There's an 8th level spell that can send lower level spells back at a person, which I think is crazy and way too overpowered. Now you might say, like, it's a level 8 spell, shouldn't that be fine? I said that to myself as well. But then I looked at Banneret and I'm like, what's going on? Wizards, what are you doing? They could be using Mirror Force on the enemies, but I can't buff my friends properly. God, the hate for marshals is real over there, man. And then I put this off for kind of long. I don't really want to talk about it, but I feel like I have to mention it. There are circle spells in this book. There are new rules where you can cast spells with your friends to make the spells more powerful. And I feel like everyone and their mother has talked about this already, but I'll be very brief about this. Basically, you and a friend can make a more powerful version of a spell. A lot of people are complaining that, like, oh, you can cast a spell from a mile away, but it's like, well, you still need to, like, see the creature, and maps don't go that big. I don't really think that's the problem. I don't think the wizard should have that ability, but I don't think that's the problem here. One of the problems, I think, is you can increase the spell's area. If you have just 2 spellcasters, you can increase the range of Spirit Guardians by 10 feet for every caster after the first caster that is casting that spell, right? So if you have 4 casters in that spell, you have 3 secondary casters, and that increases the range by 30 feet. Your mileage may vary depending on how many casters you have in this casting. It doesn't matter if one guy's a level 20 wizard and one guy's like a level 1 warlock. You can add just as much to the spell. Like, that level 1 warlock can still be helping, which just feels bad. You know what I mean? Let me give you an example of how crazy this gets. Let's say you have 2 casters and one knows the Aura of Vitality spell. Aura of Vitality normally lasts 1 minute. If you have 2 casters, it can last 1 hour. And with Aura of Vitality, you can use a bonus action to give a creature 2d6 hit points back. Do you see where this is going? You can just top people off after every combat, be full HP after every single combat, the casting of a single level 3 spell slot, and be at full HP. And you can get into multiple combats in an hour, right? So you could be not only at full HP after the first combat, but even after the 3rd combat. Like, you don't, like, I don't know, these seem half-baked. They don't seem like good ideas. I really see these rules getting banned, like Aarakocra levels of banned. I don't see people going for this that much, unless you have like an all-caster party, then just like, yeah, send it. It's a bad idea. I really don't recommend circle casting. I think it is buffing casters when they really, really did not need it. And that stinks to me. If you guys can think of an even more busted way to use circle casting, please leave it in the comments below. I would love to hear them. That's everything I found noteworthy in this book. The rest is lore, which again, I don't care about. With all that being said, should you buy Forgotten Realms, Heroes of Faerûn? No! Absolutely not. This book could have had every subclass be perfect, everything in this book be perfectly balanced, the perfect circle casting rules, and I would still say don't buy it. 2 years ago, Hasbro had a bunch of layoffs. Over 1,000 people from Wizards of the Coast lost their jobs right before Christmas. So not only was Christmas probably ruined for these people, but also this is an American company with American employees, so they're probably getting their health insurance through it too. So hey, guess what you get for Christmas? The fear that if you get hurt or sick, you get put into debilitating debt for the rest of your life. Oh, but they had to lay people off because they had to tighten their belt. They weren't making enough money. Yeah, Chris Cox, the CEO of Hasbro, the people who own Wizards of the Coast, in 2023, the year he laid off all those people, made $9.44 million in just bonuses. This is before his salary, right? He made even more than that, $9.4 million, and he laid off 1,000 people. He could have took a pay cut and helped all those people, but no, instead he chose to just look out for himself. That's evil. That's just evil. By the way, last year his compensation was $16.8 million. What he did was wrong. What he did was greedy. I don't want my money going to that, and I'm gonna hold that grudge until you make some kind of amends. That's why I'm not buying this book. That's why I don't recommend buying this book. And you might be saying, well, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, so might as well get my fix where I can. First of all, just because there's no ethical consumption under capitalism doesn't mean we should just give up. You should try, like, a little bit. Second of all, there is a way to be way more ethical about it. There are ways you can enjoy 5e and other TTRPGs without funding someone who is morally bankrupt. If you want some ethically sourced, homegrown 5e content, hey, look at your boy. I have never once laid off a worker because I am my only employee. I got a Patreon, and I make a bunch of stuff where I actually care about the quality of the things I make, unlike WotC. I actually care, and I care about my patrons. I take their feedback, and I listen to it, and I make things that they want to see. Better yet, go check out the sponsor of this video. They have free stuff there that you can look at and try, and if you like it, go fund them. And if you just want to get away from D&D entirely, check out Tales from Elsewhere. That game is awesome. My friend Peter made it, and it is so fun. It's such a blast. I'd recommend Pathfinder, but the people in the YouTube comments recommend Pathfinder enough. Anyway, there are better options out there. Later.